What happens when you take a little Terminator and mix it with, I don't know, some Alita Battle Angel? You get the creator. Let's talk about it now. Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watch Our Past, and I'm here to talk to you about The Creator, which is coming to theaters on September 29th, 2023. It is a new film that is written and directed by Gareth Edwards, who you probably know as the writer-director of Rogue One. This is another sci-fi film. It's another sci-fi epic. It is big, it is bold, it has some really interesting ideas. My hot take is I definitely think you should watch it. It is just a really good science fiction experience that feels like kind of a blend of sci-fi and anime with great world building and a wonderful style. It also has some really amazing music. There's a few things I didn't love about it, but overall, this is just a really interesting, really creative world that kind of feels like this really interesting blend of ideas that comes together really well for the big screen. So I definitely think you should check it out. Check it out on the big screen. I saw it in Dolby Cinema. Rumble seats really kind of got you into the movie at certain times. The effects are really great, so it's nice to have it on the big screen. So I really enjoyed it. I definitely think you should check it out. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the movie, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like. I'm not going to go into spoilers in this review, so you don't have to worry about spoilers. You don't have to worry about finding out about the movie. I'll keep everything vague. I'll keep everything spoiler free. So in The Creator, you have a world that is set up that is kind of grappling with AI. It starts off in this really amazing kind of like Americana feel where it's showing these essentially like older 1950s style news clips about how AI is like coming into our world and how they're helping everyone and kind of helping to make everything safe and better. And then something happens that causes a rift in not only like America, but in the entire world. You kind of divide the world into two sides, those that are like against AI and those that support AI. And this leads to a very long, very kind of protracted war between these two sides. And when one of them finds out the other has this advanced weapon, it causes everything to come to a frenzy, to come to a head, and amazing things happen. So things I liked about this movie. The first, I like the effects. It is just a really great sci-fi masterpiece. There are some really interesting effects. There's a pretty seamless blend between the like technology aspects and the movie. You don't really even notice it that much. There's a few scenes where the effects looked a little bit off. There's a big scene at the start and there's a few scenes in the middle. But overall, given the amount of special effects in this film and kind of the scope of them all, it is a very impressive sci-fi spectacle. The second thing I love the style. This film has a really interesting style. It, like I said, it starts with like this Americana style newsreel talking about the benefits of AI. There's also these interesting like propaganda, like World War II-ish type propaganda pieces that play when they're trying to like recruit people to fight in this war between the nations that like support AI and the nations that don't. It just has this really kind of wonderful blend of ideas. The third thing I love the music. It has a really great soundtrack overall and a couple different like main ideas. Like one thing, it has these really beautiful like bold songs that will play during some of the big moments, some of the big action moments. You'll have like, you know, the effects fade out and you'll have this song play, which really does help to kind of like draw your attention in, especially for some of these big emotional moments. And on top of that, you have a soundtrack that's composed by Hans Zimmer, who is just a legend in kind of cinematic soundtracks, and he does a fantastic job for this movie as well. You've got some very dramatic, big, bold moments in this film that reverberate more because of the underlying music. The fourth thing I love the sci-fi aesthetic. I kind of mentioned this in the style. This film has like an interesting blend of like very high-tech futuristic technology, like AI, like robots, like all the things that comes with a low-tech environment. A lot of this film takes place in like East Asia, where they do their best to kind of like keep the traditional like East Asia feel, like old temples, like beautiful nature, you know, the traditional farming of like rice fields, things like that. But you also have these like advanced technologies in it as well. And I love that it has this kind of like mix here. It doesn't feel like this is a super futuristic world. It feels like it is kind of like almost our current world, except just kind of like bumped up at times. And in keeping with that theme, they also kind of like integrate the technology into the East Asian aesthetic as well. So you've got like a temple, right? And you've got these, you know, carvings around, and in these carvings, in these like what you would traditionally find with like Buddhist carvings, like of Buddhas and other kind of like deities and things like that, you've got robots in there, like carved into the wood of this temple. It is a really kind of nice touch. It really kind of makes this world feel alive. And the film is filled with things like that, like really creative, really like great world building touches that make this feel like a fully realized environment, makes it feel like a fully realized world. And the fifth thing I like the humor. There is not a ton of humor. This is not like a laugh out loud movie. This is a drama. This is an action film. But there are some really, really funny moments, especially when you've got, you know, like an AI trying to understand human life. Like I said, this feels like kind of a blend of Terminator and Alita Battle Angel. And if you think of the Terminator scenes where you've got like that Terminator robot trying to learn, human tendencies, human things, you get some of those aspects in this film. There's also some really funny moments that help to kind of like minimize some of the big action sequences. There's one scene towards the end that is fantastic. I love that, like, it kind of deals with like people's mistrust, and it causes this very, very funny, very dramatic scene to happen. So all that being said, things I didn't love as much about the movie. There's some ridiculous aspects. Like there are some very, very close calls that seem very fortuitous when characters make it through. It feels like they almost make it through with luck. They make it through with like very, very slim chances. It's fine. The film wouldn't really progress if these things didn't happen, but it does feel like some of these close calls just feel a little bit too lucky for the characters. And that also leads to there's also some like pretty ridiculous big moments at the end that, hey, make for an interesting film, make for kind of a dramatic film, but also feel, I don't know, unrealistic might be the wrong word, because this is a movie about AI and robots and things like that. But it feels like these events resolve a little bit too luckily for these characters. The second thing I didn't love as much, this again, a minor point. All these are minor. Don't worry too much about them. There's not a ton of ambiguity in this film. Like, it's supposed to be a film that kind of like looks at, I don't know, a gray area, but you've got some pretty black and white characters, black and white nations in this movie. You can tell who the bad people are pretty early on. You can tell who the good people are pretty early on, and they don't really mix. It feels like they heavily pile on the evil side to make you really not like them. It does kind of have a nice build-up before you kind of like draw these sides, but once those sides are drawn, it's pretty clear who's good, who's bad, and whatnot. I wish that there was a little bit more ambiguity in that aspect. And the last thing I didn't love as much, this is an interesting one. I wish it was a little bit longer. This film was about 2 hours and 5 minutes. I felt like it could have been a little longer. And I think that's just because I wanted to spend more time in this world. I wanted to see kind of more of this technology that they had created and more of this like world building that had happened. This film feels like a very realized world. And it kind of saddened me that you only got to spend 2 hours. And I really wish it would have been a little bit longer. 2.5 hours. Heck, I would have spent like 3 hours here because it was an interesting experience and a really, really great world. So that is The Creator. It comes to theaters on September 29th, 2023. Definitely check it out. Check it out in theaters because it is definitely something you want to see on the big screen. So thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.